Everyone, I did not go to New York for the NFL owners meeting, and the simple reason was tending to a family matter here that happens. But the bottom line is, and I want to personally thank Jason Cole for kind of taking up some of the information that I was going to take down with me and use to ask questions for his own. He's with Bleacher Report. However, I think he'd be better with his any 62 media, and I'm saying that openly. All that aside, and I will say this. The Raiders do not want to be in Oakland. And the reason has to do with the non-performance of the city regarding the stadium. And it's not just the Raiders' feeling, it's also the feeling of some in the NFL community. And the entire situation hasn't been helped by Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. Yes, my god sister, as I've said before, but I'm saying this from a strict business perspective, acting more like a politician than, as one observer put it, the CEO of the city of Oakland capable of crafting a deal. Libby's attitude is essentially, I've done all I can do, but that flies in the face of the progress that St. Louis has made under Mayor Peabody. There may be fits and starts in the stadium progress there, as Commissioner Goodell has alluded to today at the press conference, but the bottom line is they're also ahead of where San Diego is, just by a bit, under Mayor Kevin Faulconer, and light years ahead, both are, of Oakland, which basically rested its chances on a developer, Floyd Gephardt, who really isn't a developer, didn't have a task force that would have been appointed by the mayor, and showed little interest in crafting a deal the Raiders would go for, although they did craft one. But the one they crafted showed little understanding of how to do stadium finance in a way that leaves the team money. It wasn't done from the perspective of asking the question, how can the team come away making more money under our scenario than in any other scenario that it might be presented with? Note I said might be. And then there's the simple bad relationship between the mayor's office in Oakland and the Oakland Raiders as it stands right now. It's worse than any time it has been, going all the way back to Lionel Wilson and Al Davis in 1979. Yes, I did say that. Because even at the time that the city of Oakland was in a lawsuit against the Raiders and having joined the NFL in its lawsuit against the Raiders, Oakland Mayor Elihu Harris and Raiders owner Al Davis were still talking. In fact, Elihu once said to me very recently that when Al Davis and his lawyer Joy Alioto walked into the room, he was dealing with bad cop and badder. The trouble is, he couldn't tell which one of them was the baddest. By contrast, there was no such relationship. Mark Bourdain, at least to the making of this video, has not returned Libby Schaaf's phone calls. Libby Schaaf's the mayor of Oakland. And he has done so for a set of reasons that, if Mark isn't careful, could be misread as being sexist, even though the Raiders would say, look, we had Amy Trask as an executive on our staff for 2 decades and yada, yada, yada. But I'm not talking about the past. I'm talking about the present and how sensitive words can be. When the Raiders let it slip that they think the mayor is arrogant or a politician or the B word, that can be easily misconstrued as an organization ran by men that isn't comfortable dealing with a woman who expresses her power. But that's where we are today. That's how bad things have gotten. And it's up to Mark Bourdain to really straighten it out as soon as possible, because it interrupts the Raiders' efforts with respect to the NFL's good faith relations policy as stated in its relocation documents. good faith negotiations. You can't have good faith negotiations when that kind of behavior is exhibited, or at least intimated to exist. That's a huge problem. The other problem is that the Raiders have not shown a direct desire to form a plan that allows them to stay in Oakland of their own design. And now Mark Davis said to Jason Cole today, we're looking for a partner for LA. Help us. Which also points to another problem I'll get to in a second. Now, let's focus on LA. The problem with both stadium proposals down there is that they don't pencil out, okay? I'm saying it straight out. Neither stadium proposal adequately pencils out. If they did, it would have been a complete done deal by now. The NFL would not go to the NFL Players Association, the union, in search of additional financing for the LA scenario. What covers up this fact is the perception that because a person, in this case Stan Kroenke, is a billionaire, they can pay the dollar. You know, I can't tell you, a momentary aside here, how many times I've heard idiotic comments regarding what a person who is listed on paper as being a billionaire is willing to spend because they're a billionaire, from people who aren't billionaires. You're not going to, I mean, let me put this from a purely mathematical perspective. Let's say that I'm an investor and you come to me and you want me to invest in your football team. You say, okay, look, it cost me $3, but I need $1 from you and I'm willing to pay you back. And I would say, okay, I'm going to give you the $1 you need. You've got $3, your cost is say $4. I'm going to give you that money. I'm going to give you the dollar you need. But how am I going to get that back? If the total cost is $4 and I'm giving you $1, you have to give back me 25% of that over X period. Let's say I decide I want to add interest. That's more. Here's my point. That's money. That money that you need, that you're getting from me, is money that if you didn't have to pay me back over a period, whatever that period is, you could use on stadium construction or team operations or both. Now, let's say there's a cost overrun, and the cost overrun abuts your ability to pay me back. Well, there's a problem, right? So now we've got a lawsuit if I'm deciding I'm going to be an asshole. But you see how quickly down the wrong end of the rabbit hole you can go with that? Because you have the extra mouth to feed in me. That's what you don't want. That's why, in my case, I proposed a 1,000-room hotel development, which gave extra revenue that the team could use against a bond issue if it partnered with the Oakland Alameda County Joint Powers Association to build the entire facility with no public money required. None. That's why you have additional uses around which you can draw from. What Stan Kroenke is building in LA, it's not clear that it's going to have the revenue throw-off that's going to allow him to fill the gap, the financing gap that currently exists. And if that financing gap didn't exist, there would be no talk by the NFL of going to the NFL Players Association for additional financing assistance for the stadium down there, regardless of whether it's in Inglewood or Carson. That's an enormous problem. Then there's the PSL issue. In a region where many industries have experienced major job loss, and since 1994, California has lost 24% of its manufacturing base. It's a difficult argument to make that you're going to have people who are going to sustain their expenditures for PSLs even beyond the deposit period, given the tenuous job situation there and the high degree of underemployment, people getting jobs that are paying less than what they need to comfortably live and pay for homes. That's an enormous problem. And I would bet creds to Navy Beans that the study that Carmen Policy and his people had done regarding PSL expenditures doesn't cover that. If it did, it would look entirely different than what Mr. Policy says it looks like today. I am absolutely convinced, as it stands now, that stadium, even with 2 teams, can't pencil out down there properly. Can't. So the future looks like this. First of all, the city of Oakland definitely needs to get its act together. The mayor needs to establish a task force. She needs to come up with a plan that is attractive to the Raiders, because now we know enough of what the Raiders want to understand what's not attractive and what works, but also hold on to some absolutes to make the deal work. For example, keep the east side of the Coliseum, upgrade it to modern standards so that we can save some money in building a new stadium for the Raiders and then move forward. My idea of the hotel works. I don't care if anyone likes that I mention it or not, it works. Period. But the bottom line is that idea aside, we have to do something. Right now, we've done nothing. I mean, beyond talking. Build models, come up with a plan, move forward, and stop being so secretive about it. Just simply move forward and get it out there and get it done. A. B. Improve relations with the Raiders by A. In other words, if you show you're doing something, the Raiders will respond. C. The Raiders have to be made to respond in a way that's respectful to